My name is Paul Tilstone, and today I'm in conversation with Dery from S&P Global Incorporated. Anne, thank you for joining us today, all the way from New York.
Yeah, thank you.
You brought the weather with you, I think.
Apparently so, apparently so.
Thank you for that. So we've asked you to look at the managed travel model and decide if there's one or two key areas you think are really important from the buyer. What have you chosen?
Well, I've actually chosen data and engagement.
Okay, great.
I think those are usually not well-connected components of a managed travel program.
Okay, and you want to do them separately or together?
I think I'd like to speak about them together.
Okay,
yeah.
Great.
Yes.
And what is it about the compatibility of those two subjects? Why are they important to you?
Yeah, so in the last year and a half, we've had a number of data engagement projects going on at S&P.
Okay.
A lot of that had to do with our implementation of a data management solution. And due to that implementation, we have now been able to create a very visually engaging T&E document that will be going out auto-generated every month.
And what does that document do? It's a policy document, or it's a...
No, it's actually it's a data document.
Okay.
It kind of looks like an annual report. It's very sleek, and it gives basically division owners and function owners an overview of the T&E spend and volume of their organization for that period.
Okay.
However, we've had to engage with a number of our different finance leads. The analysts have helped us do the UAT testing. We then sent it out to a pilot group to get their feedback. We've made a lot of changes to it. And actually, as of earlier this week, we sent out the full year 2019 version, along with a very scripted observation so that our finance leads would have context around the data for their particular business or division and how it relates back to the overall performance of the company.
Okay. And what sort of data components? Is it all financial data, or are there other bits and pieces in there?
No, it's actually all travel data.
Okay.
It's travel and expense data.
Okay.
So everything related to the trip. So we have meal costs in there, as well as meeting and conference costs, and then the typical categories: air, hotel, ground transportation. But it really gives the various finance leaders a quick snapshot of what's going on in their organization. And then there's a whole page about compliance metrics.
Okay.
And they really can see how different departments within their organization, how they fare against each other, how their online adoption is doing, for instance. Are they choosing the lowest logical fare? Their overall spend, has it gone up or down?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, these sound like very basic metrics.
But they're important to you as your organizational culture as a financial institution.
Right.
This is what you live and breathe, right?
I mean, we deliver business intelligence out to the market.
Yes.
But we've always struggled with business intelligence internally, right? And I think travel managers have now somehow become the data gurus of their organization.
Yes.
And it is an aspect of my job that I really enjoy.
So what's interesting for me about it is that there is so much data. I think maybe sometimes buyers get data paralysis. It's like give me as much as you can. Right. Whereas the approach that you've taken is, and that's why you've got data and engagement, is you've said, okay, let me go and speak to our business owners and work out what it is they want, and then I'll put it together in a way that they can easily consume to make the right decisions.
Exactly.
And that's really smart because it's just perfectly tailored to the organization. Were there any competing needs in the data that they require? Do you flex the data depending on the individual, or is it consistent?
We've only flexed the data for the C-suite.
Okay.
Because the whole goal was to standardize metrics in the organization, right? And we really wanted each part of our organization to be able to, kind of measure themselves against other parts of the organization in a consistent manner, which has never been done before.
Yes.
But the C-suite also wanted to be able to look at, for instance, the entire operating committee and what their spend is and things like that. I mean, they're not really as focused on compliance. It doesn't really relate to that group.
Yeah.
But to actually have these spend metrics, again, in a very digestible format, is something we've never been able to do before.
Okay.
And
how do you manage data gaps? Do you have data gaps, or you think you've got 100%?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, we have 100% of the data. We have feeds coming in from our TMC. We have feeds from our corporate card, and we have an API into our Concur expense system.
Okay.
So all the data gaps are actually found before this type of aggregation is put together. And that's part of that UAT testing. And that's why it took probably about 9 months to a year to actually deliver the final product.
Okay, and I guess as a kind of basis platform for the travel program, you have to do the initial engagement. Right. Now it's in place.
Right.
It then creates more engagement because you get to talk more about the program and they get to understand the program. Right. So what's the next step in your organization when it comes to data and engagement?
Yeah, so actually the engagement is going to grow exponentially because we've started with a group of 10. So we've created 10 iterations of this. It's called the story. And now we actually can create up to 250 iterations.
Wow.
Yeah, so the goal is to actually start going deeper and deeper into the organization, reaching out to department heads and different functions within our organization and creating stories for them as well. I'm part of the global business service function, for instance, which is a sub function under finance. And I know my vice president is very eager to get a story about GBS, right? Yes. So the goal is to engage further and further into the organization.
And do you think will those stories develop beyond cost into traveler well-being metrics or other components?
Yeah, I mean, we're looking to put in some predictive analysis as well. Yeah. I know it's very important that we, really understand the total trip cost. Total cost of ownership.
Yes.
So that is something on our roadmap for 2020. And we also want to be able to be a little bit more prescriptive. If meetings need to take place, what is the best time of year? What is the best destination based on all this travel analytics that
Which
we have?
the theory's always been there in this industry, but the actual delivery of that has never been quite there.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at the next 12 to 24 months, what do you recommend that buyers, when it comes to data and engagement, what should they be tangibly focusing on?
Well, I think buyers should first embrace the idea that they really are the data gurus of their organization.
Okay, take ownership of it. Okay.
And then once you own it, you really need to make sure you have the right system.
Yes.
I think a lot of buyers are probably using TMCs to aggregate their data. And I highly recommend becoming independent of your data source so that this way it's more of a plug and play. Whatever suppliers you're using,
you still maintain consistent data.
Consistent data. You have a third party, an objective third party who's agnostic that can audit the data. And that has helped us tremendously get better and richer data from our suppliers.
Sort of removes any pain in changing, doesn't it, really?
So exactly.
That's really good advice.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for joining us, Anne. I really appreciate you coming here.
Welcome,
and have a great trip back.
Thank you.